Hey guys, welcome to Chasing Gains Radio. Today we've got an amazing guest in Keegan Smith. He's an amazing coach. What we're going to go through today is going to be how to be an elite trainer or coach, what is genetic momentum and how to kind of get it swinging in the right direction, the importance of movement in any kind of health goal, why you should do juggling and how it's beneficial to your other goals, why skills is something you should have for life, whereas body composition goals can fluctuate, so it's important to work on those skills as well, and everything to do with working with professional athletes and how to get the most out of them. So be sure to watch right to the end. We've got some amazing content. Chasing Gains Radio, the insatiable quest for constant progression. Chasing is the act of pursuing. Gains is the result or positive outcome. Chasing Gains Radio. Here's your host, Cody McAuliffe. Hey guys, welcome to Chasing Gains Radio. Today we've got an amazing guest in Keegan Smith. He is a world-class coach. He's been part of some amazing teams throughout the world. He's been a huge mentor of mine and helped thousands of personal trainers around the world to be able to improve their businesses and improve their skills and actually motivate them to actually further their knowledge in the health and fitness industry and making a real change through his company and what he's working on in the Real Movement Project. So welcome, Kegan.
Thanks for having me, Cody.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to have you. I'll get you to just start with a bit about your kind of history coming into the fitness industry and kind of where it all started and what kind of were the key points throughout that journey.
Yeah, so I guess it was kind of a standard entry in a lot of ways. Like, didn't know what I was doing at the end of high school, went into exercise science, fumbled and bumbled through that, somehow managed to graduate with distinction, but probably spent as much time in the bar as I did in the library, and sort of left uni a bit confused about where I might go with it. There wasn't really much confidence about actually achieving anything based on the degree. It was kind of like, well, you might become a medical sales rep, you might go and study physio, or you might do not much with it. PT was kind of seen as like a really low, like poor option of what you could do with it. So I didn't really consider that much at that time. But I was fortunate enough to push ahead with a massage diploma and get some work with some rugby teams. So I worked with the Parramatta Eels and did some work with a few institutes to get some experience in athlete development, and that led to a paid role with the London Broncos in England. And that was kind of how I got started, but I guess because I just stumbled into it at a young age, it didn't really have much significance to me, and I kind of felt like there was more that I needed to learn and more that I needed to do, and that I wasn't going to get that working in elite sport. It's kind of a little bubble, elite sport, where the only thing that matters is kind of winning and getting things to the next level in that way. And I needed some kind of deeper experience. So living in London, I saw that there are a lot of people traveling the world. There's people who speak multiple languages. There's a whole other level of stuff out there that I hadn't experienced. So I went and backpacked and traveled the world for the next sort of 6 years, just adventuring, trying to learn about how the world works. A little bit of training done all the way along, like training in parks and roping people into sessions with weights that I pulled out of the back of my car. I travelled with 100 kilos in the boot of my car all around Australia and lived in Darwin and lived near Alice Springs and outback sort of Queensland. It's always kind of come along with me. But then at some stage in the mountains of Mexico, living there, I decided that there needed to be a change and I needed to go back into what I was really passionate about, which is sort of health and performance. And that led back to working in rugby league and had four years as a strength coach and working performance, 2 in France, and then the next 2 with the Roosters, and managed to get a lot of great results, and that was kind of a springboard to be able to do what I really wanted to do, which was to educate people who were dealing with everyday Joes, people who wanted more out of life but didn't really necessarily know how to get it. So that's where I started to work with personal trainers, started to work with gym owners, people who want to work in sports teams, to try and influence that stuff the best way I knew how and in a positive direction. So that's kind of how Real Movement was born, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, cool. In terms of like working with sports teams and stuff, what kind of changes did you make going into, say, specific sports teams like the Roosters and stuff in terms of like being a strength coach?
So yeah, I mean, the everything changes. You know, it's all connected. So you make a change in one area, and it really flows over into everything else. Like the players could see that the significance of health and performance to me was, you know, something a lot more reverent. You know, it is like a religion to me. It's, you know, it's the highest. It's one of my highest values. You know, I place it ahead of, you know, all the things that you know a lot of young guys place in their hierarchy of needs of, you know, social acceptance and material stuff and girls and booze and you know, and winning.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like developing yourself should be at the center of it, and so that sort of flowed into our culture. And you know, the head coach Trent Robinson was really on that page.
Yeah.
But yeah, we changed the way they were eating, we changed the way they were thinking, we changed the way their bodies moved, and you know, we managed to win the competition in 2013, minor premiership both years, World Club Challenge, club championships both years, and you know, we set up a winning culture. You know, they won the minor premiership again last year. So we did something that was different to what other teams are doing, and we created something that was special. And you know, even other teams were talking about, you know, we were asking the players, like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're not like us. You know, it feels different playing against you compared to other teams. And that's the power of the stuff that we talk about, that we learn about. And I know, you know, you're experiencing it. And when you get these things moving in the same direction, you know, mind, you know, your diet and your movement, and then you create community around that. It's something extremely powerful, and it's, you know, it creates a wave that can't be stopped. Is my feeling. That's what we're experiencing.
Yeah, totally agree. So for those people who don't know, Keegan's one of my mentors, and I've done a couple of his training courses and got a lot out of it, and it's helped me like improve my business and skills as a personal trainer. In terms of like changing the culture in, say, a football club or any kind of group of people, what kind of things did you start to do to be able to change that culture and improve it and make it more of a cohesive team to be able to achieve, like as a sporting team, it's to achieve the outcome of winning, obviously, the competition, which you did on several occasions. What about like a group kind of training kind of environment? What kind of things did you do to help with that?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is just really to value it. I think that's the biggest thing. The simplest thing can be ultimately valued and important if the coach feels like that. You know, if you think of the martial arts master just, you know, making Karate Kid, you know, sweeping the floor. You know, what is the importance that's associated with it? Well, for the master, you know, being able to be fully mindful of that act makes it extremely important. If you can't sweep the floor, then you have no chance in combat. I guess that's where I think a lot of us fall down, and I know that this happens a lot in elite strength and conditioning as much as it does in personal training, is to think that we're all doing something quite similar, and you know, the outcome of this isn't that important. You know, for me, this is life and death. Like the diseases that we're seeing at the moment are behavioural diseases. We have behavioural dysfunction, and if we get the stuff right, people can live amazing, energetic lives and thrive and become the best version of themselves and have energy to, you know, to educate themselves and to, you know, be a light that shines upon the people around them. If they're sick and, you know, feeling very limited, then, you know, it's a pathway towards death. So that's the level of importance that I put on it. And actually, you know, we hear this line, I think I may have picked you up on it once, like, I'm just a PT.
Yeah.
This line is, you know, I know you don't really mean it. I know you really value the industry, but because to get into medicine takes a different set of ranking within our system and a different financial investment, people think that because people holding that rank means that they have more standing, more potential for impact. In fact, a personal trainer is much more likely to positively impact the health of a bigger group of people than your average doctor. Yeah. And there are great doctors who are doing great work, but the majority of GPs will actually tell you that they're pretty much hamstrung by the system that they're in, and they're delivering quick fix solutions to people who are looking for quick fixes. You know, on the other side of the equation, we have personal trainers who have the opportunity to deeply engage with people and change their lives. So that value is really where it starts. And I talked about that with the players. You know, first thing is I don't want anyone to die. And the guys all kind of have a little smile and a snickle. But literally, you know, there are people, you know, athletes get cancer now, athletes suicide. This stuff is happening. You can say it's not, but if we do things right, that stuff isn't going to happen, in my opinion. And it didn't. And I would like to, think that I've had an impact on some of those guys that's going to go all the way through to old age. Valuing things that much is where it's at. Taking down numbers, prescribing numbers, bring energy to the sessions, bringing emotion into what's going on. Sometimes you got to be loud, you got to scream, you got to say that's not good enough. If it doesn't mean much to you and if you're not showing that it means a lot to you, it's not going to mean a lot to them. Yeah. And a lot of athletes feel like the gym is just a thing that they're required to do, they're obligated to do, but it's not necessarily passion, it's not necessarily something that's going to make a big difference. In rugby league, a lot of people think that's just hypertrophy. As long as I maintain my muscle mass, then job's done in the gym. If I don't need to add mass, I'm pretty much just wasting my time in the gym. There are athletes who feel like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not the case. What we're doing is we're upgrading the structural system so we get less injuries. We're updating the neurological system so that we can produce more force, produce that force quicker, have better balance. And physically, we were able to dominate teams. We had the most zero score lines of any team in NRL history. We did something that's never been done before. And it was on the back of doing things that have never been done before. Yeah. If you want a result that no one else is getting, you have to do something no one else is willing to do. And we did that. And that was not just me. That was the culture that was created. That was players. That was all the staff. Head coach. But we created a special community. And within a special community, anything is really possible. That's what I've come to believe in very, very deeply.
Yeah, totally agree. In terms of potential for increases in performance, what do you think the number one factor is to be able to get increases in performance?
I mean, you've got to look at where the biggest weakness is.
Yeah.
So going into the Roosters crew, lower body strength was a huge weakness. So improving some lower body strength. The numbers that we see there are not like powerlifting numbers. They're not even numbers that you'd see in a really good CrossFit gym now. Yeah. These guys are training twice a week in the gym, training legs at most, and it's secondary to the field sessions. It's secondary to the games. So it's not the same. People think elite athlete and then average Joe. But if the average Joe is able to train himself hard in the gym 4 times a week, they're actually going to get more stimulus than the elite athlete, and they can become stronger. They may not, go to the Olympics for weightlifting or for that stuff because the standards around them. But everyday Joes can actually get great results and go beyond what a lot of elite athletes do. If you have the opportunity, Cody, to go into a sports institute now, I think you'll see that a lot of stuff, the standards are actually not amazingly high. They're amazingly high in the skill side of things, but often the strength and conditioning side often is not coached optimally, unfortunately. We're leaving a lot of potential in the tank, but there is also a more limited window for us to develop people in that professional environment in some ways with all the competing aspects. But getting them stronger was, that's the ceiling, right? This is the total amount of force that we can produce. If we start here and we go to here in terms of total amount of force we can produce, then the rate of force production, so how quickly we can produce that force within 1 second. If that's the ceiling, we're not going to go above that. We're going to be somewhere here within the amount of force we can produce within 1 second.
Yeah.
If the ceiling's lifted, then we're going to be able to, produce more force in any given time period. Yeah. So produce more force, produce it quicker, and you have a competitive advantage. And that was the fundamental, the biggest thing in the gym that we developed.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. How important do you think it was working on the players mentally being stronger than to be able to, say, even push more in the gym, push more in games, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves being better than yesterday, right? It's the best drug in the world. Better than yesterday is better than any drug that you're going to get out there, and it's actually probably cheaper, and it's sustainable, and it's something that we can use every day. So these guys loved it, being better than they've ever been before. One of the first sessions in the gym, I made them do a maximal clean and jerk. And, the weightlifting police would have said, that we can't do that they didn't have the technical background and, whatever. But if you'd have been in that room and you've seen the reaction with a 120 clean and jerk, that was the best that we had on that first day. I think we'd done cleans before, but maybe the first time we'd actually done jerks. 120 was the best we saw. With these big athletic guys, that's poor. The numbers are not great. But the guys were blowing the roof off. The accounting department was above the gym. And they're all going, what the hell is happening in the gym? This has never happened before. And then they got used to it because, when something amazing happened in the gym, we celebrated it. And that's how you build belief. And there was an amazing vibe about what we did in the gym. And on the back of that, you're doing that. You're giving them that feeling in the gym. You're giving them that feeling on the field. You're giving them that feeling. They're getting that feeling out of games. And then they're being disciplined in their personal life, and they're progressing spiritually. It's difficult to stop once you build that sort of momentum. And at the moment, the standards in sport in Australia, from what I see, there's a lot of great work going on, but ticking all those boxes is something that's very difficult to do, and something that's not really getting done. And that's where we saw a team go from 13th to first and clear kind of dominant team over 3 years. I think that possibility, that advantage is there, and we're seeing it in guys who are setting up gyms under the Real Movement endorsement and getting some stuff going culturally there. Like if you look at the lifts that are coming out of Mitch Pike's gym in Canberra, there are a lot of guys who within 3 months of training there, they're actually lifting better than most NRL players. Their power to weight ratio. There's guys who are getting close to triple body weight deadlifts with less than a year of weight training under their belt. Like if you listen to the videos, he's building that environment around training and testing sessions. So it's not just something that can be done in the elite environment, and everyone enjoys better than yesterday. It's not something that should be held just for athletes. It's something that you can give it to anyone, and they're gonna have a better experience of life and come back for more.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of like the Real Movement project, what kind of sparked this change from being a performance coach into moving into the Real Movement project, and where is it going in the future?
Yeah, so we do, like, I guess what we're calling it is performance coaches that we mentor. So the reason why we're calling it that rather than personal trainers is just because a personal trainer can really mean anything. Anyone who sort of takes some time to exercise with someone. Yeah. Whereas a performance coach, we need to have some outcomes. So the outcomes are going to be mobility. Can we do a back bridge? Can we do a pancake? Are we able to do a standing pike? Hands to floor. We've set these standards up for the coaches, and those standards are flowing on to clients. So we're seeing improvements in mobility performance. We're seeing improvements in endurance. 2K row, 400-meter run. The standards for coaches are obviously higher than what we're going to see with initially with clients. But if the coaches are limited and inhibited, then there's no chance for the client. So we're trying to create coaches who are completely uninhibited in terms of movement, super strong, feeling confident in their bodies, able to develop mobility, force, and endurance, and that's actually having that huge flow-on effect. So the Real Movement project was created out of the idea of a real movement. If you look up the history of Real Movement, it's actually kind of a political movement, 50s and 60s, and it was a decision to go towards a different sort of political system and a different way of living. And that's really what Real Movement means to me, is a real movement towards a different way of life and a different way of doing things. And that's what the philosophies are all built around. So it's not that we have the only authentic, training system as some people might interpret it. It's really about a philosophy of living, continually improving, working towards more being in harmony with nature, a whole set of system of living, a system of values. And that's what you can see with the I Choose Movement campaign. If you look at I Choose Movement, you Google that or check it out on realmovementproject.com, the blog post I Choose Movement. You can see like 10 of the things that have made the biggest difference to me. So for me, going from being quite unhealthy, quite unhappy, not really having any impact on the world, I've changed a lot of things myself and got to a stage where I'm now able to help coaches all over the world and help a lot of guys go into new facilities. And I see those as being the key principles of how I've been able to do that and what I try to help other people to work towards.
Yeah, awesome. How important is it then to be able to lead by example, and as a coach and a performance coach or a trainer?
Yeah, I mean, how does it feel to you? Like you're obviously lifting heavy. You look as you want to look, like you've got yourself to as shredded as any human's ever been.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you? I'm sure that's probably worth listening to.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously important. The more kind of you put your body through, in terms of either strength or trying to get leaner, the more you can kind of understand what other people are going through to be able to get the same outcomes. And obviously it's going to be important to go through those processes to help inspire and motivate other people to be able to do the same, whether it is jumping on stage or just improving their strength or mobility, whatever it is, for their kind of goal as well. So it's definitely something I've tried to kind of instill in my training and what I'm doing even more. Especially, like, totally agree. When I first started in the fitness industry, I was still smashing booze every weekend as well, like most people. So moving away from that and working more on setting up my business around inspiring other people and making it more about other people than just me getting enough money to smash booze on the weekend and stuff. So it's definitely a good change, and definitely keen to continue it in the future.
How do you feel on a Sunday and a Monday now compared to how you felt then?
A lot better. I can actually lift. So normally I just like years ago, but I look back and I can kind of see, like, I don't know how I even trained, because if I have, like, last year I went out once, and like the next week till like Thursday I just couldn't train. I was just wrecked. It was just destroyed my body, and I just wonder how I ever kind of functioned like as that. Obviously I was a little bit younger and stuff, but yeah, I don't know how some people can kind of do it, still smash booze like every single weekend and like function in their lives, be cohesive, and yeah, definitely don't want to get into that routine again.
And I guess it comes down to what the outcome, like what the end goal is. Like if the end goal is just to help people to look better in the mirror, then there's a lot of different ways to achieve that. But if you want them to actually look in the mirror and see someone they're proud of, then there's a whole different equation that goes with that.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you're mistreating yourself and you're doing things that are taking you away from your higher purpose.
Yeah.
You got to look in the mirror, and you're not going to feel that like there's someone really special standing there, and there's someone who's doing their best for themselves and for the for those who are in their life. Like that's what I want to be able to do, and that's what I want people I'm working with. It's not just about getting shredded. Like that's part of it, and most of the guys in the community are in great shape physically, but if you're in great shape physically but not healthy on the inside and not feeling great about who you are, then what's the use? Like it definitely runs deeper, and that's what we're trying to do. And the performance side of things is part of what pushes that ahead, right? Like when you can do things that used to be impossible, that you used to think, well, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You change the mind. When you change the mind in that way and you expand the mind, then that's going to carry over to other things that you do. Yeah, the body's changed, but also the perception of what you're capable of, that's changed, and that's what we want to see. People feeling unlimited, feeling like any challenge they really set themselves towards, focus on, that they can achieve, and that's why the performance is such a big part for me. Getting to 100 kilo snatch, being able to do a standing back somersault, all these things, like they're just smashing mental barriers and things that you think, well, I'm never going to be able to do that, but then you do it and you go, well, actually now I know that I can help 1,000 other people to do this, because if I can do it, I'm sure they can. I guess that's the confidence you have with people with body composition. Is you were not a massive man finishing high school, if I'm correct, and now you're carrying a lot of lean mass and you're able to get people lean. So you have ultimate confidence that if you get a skinny kid, you go, yeah, like I know what you're feeling, man. Like let's do this. And I got the same thing going on with performance, and it's a great thing to have. And I just want other coaches to feel like that. And I know that you want to even expand that skill set and feel just as confident around rehabilitation and around maybe some gymnastic stuff. And over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of really cool different stuff out of you, and it's great to see you taking on challenges, going for doing some sprinting and all these things to show that you're in that growth mindset. When you're in that growth mindset, amazing things are going to happen, and that's where we want to stay, and just keep seeing those challenges, keep pushing to the next one.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, that growth mindset is extremely important. How do you kind of help your either performance coaches or athletes move more into that kind of growth mindset then? Because you're always going to deal with people that aren't always in that. What do you find the best ways to move people towards that?
Well, for a lot of people, they still want to see it before they believe it,
Yeah.
I think, that's, to believe in the unseen is really a blessing and a triumph. Like if you can actually believe in it before you see it, that's Abraham Lincoln said that, and it's definitely true. And it's hard for a lot of people to think, well, yeah, I'm really actually going to be able to do this before I see it. So, like there's always those two things. Like you got to try and push the mind ahead, like create that image of what it is, where it is you actually want to be. Like best case scenario, where are you going to be? What are you going to do in 5 years' time? What are you going to do in 12 months' time? If you don't have a best case scenario, you're probably just going to wander forward and let circumstances, determine your future. And probably someone else's dream, right, is going to determine your future because they'll put you to work at McDonald's or whatever to further their ambition.
Yeah.
So first thing is to sort of create an image of what that is that we actually want to achieve, and then just take little steps. We do a lot of juggling in the community. People look at juggling and they underestimate it. They massively underestimate it. And they think that it's, something that's just, for circus, for clowns, for kids, whatever, and it doesn't mean anything. But actually, when you say, well, hey, let's try this thing, first few minutes extremely frustrating. You think maybe I'm not going to get this. There's that fear. Maybe I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to be the one who can't do it, and I don't want to be that one. And I don't want to be embarrassed, and I don't want to, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to see me keep dropping the balls and not being able to do this. But 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, it's like, hey, this is clicking. I'm getting somewhere with this, and within a few sessions, sometimes it's within 2 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's it doesn't matter how long it is. No one else said it better how long it took him to learn the C chord, right? Or, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
No one knows how long it took him to learn his first couple of chords. He may have been very fast to learn it. He may have been very slow. It doesn't matter in the end because he became someone that changed history. When we do the juggling, it feels incredibly uncomfortable. But what we see soon enough is that, well, actually, shit, I can do this. And then that same challenge transferred into the handstand. Well, the juggling is usually a 1 week journey as a max to get to 3-ball juggling. We now have guys that are working on 5-ball juggling, and that's a 12-month, 2-year journey. So they've expanded again, like thinking about developing themselves long term and going to that. But once we get that, we get that little win with the juggling, we think, I can learn, I can progress. The handstand is the next one, that a lot of the guys work on. And handstand is very easily underestimated. People think that it's going to be okay, but it's actually very scary to begin with. If you haven't been upside down that much, it's uncomfortable on the wrists. You don't really breathe, and then you have to try and get body awareness of where your body is in space. And there's all this stuff that's coming up, and it's just it brings out people's beliefs, whether they think that they should just be good at everything no matter what. It's the ultimate arrogance, really, when we get frustrated when we're starting something new. It's like, why should you be good at it? If you haven't practiced it, there's no reason why you should be good at it. Like, where is this arrogance of expecting to be good at something without having done the work? That's not how it's meant to be. We take on that challenge, and with consistency, within 3 months you see something, within 6 months you see something else. And usually it's 6 to 12 months before you actually feel good in a handstand and you're controlling it. But by that time, usually guys have got a few thousand, more followers on social media. They've maybe got a gym open, they've doubled their client base, they've increased their prices, they're eating better. They're maybe not consuming as much alcohol or other stuff that's taken away from their dreams. And it's funny, it just sneaks up on people once you sort of start moving in that direction with a few physical things. It's a tidal wave. And for some, it's juggling and handstands. For others, it's a deadlift and a back somersault. Whatever it is, just continuing to smash those limitations. It just seems to be infectious and contagious. And then being amongst a community of people who do that, whether it's in an elite sports team or a coaching community, it creates something very powerful. I think that's the biggest thing. Like if you be part of a powerful community and build one around you as much as you can, like that's probably the most important thing for success in life. The inverse of that, social isolation, is the biggest risk factor and biggest causative factor in disease and dysfunction. So, if you're feeling socially isolated, take some strong steps to build your social network and get around some people who invigorate you and make you feel excited about life.
Yeah, awesome. And that's definitely kind of what you've done with the Real Movement Project as well, creating that community of people who are actually driving forward with their goals and stuff as well. So it's awesome. In terms of juggling, can you go into a bit more detail about the benefits of juggling for cognitive function, hand-eye coordination and stuff like that, and kind of
Yep.
what experiences you've seen with people from doing that?
Yeah. So there's new grey matter being formed. There's also new white matter being formed in the brain. There's increased density of corpus callosum, according to research. I don't see it, but the research is saying that that's what's happening. And then we're not able to duplicate that with other kinds of movement. Increasing the density of corpus callosum is something that is difficult to do. That's left brain and right brain. So that's, your imagination and your structured thought. The better those things can work together, the more adaptable we're going to be and the more able to create new ideas, but then execute them, we're going to be. So it does have a powerful effect in that way. And it's such a big thing for, there's so much versatility within it, but it never ends, and you're always going to fail, and that's okay. Just keep picking the balls up. It's a great metaphor for life. Things are going to splatter on the floor. The only reason it's a failure is if you don't pick it up again and go. As soon as you pick it up again, you start afresh, and it's over. I've got a 1.5-year-old baby, and you see go from utter, like, being utterly distraught, angry, whatever, to 5 seconds later, it's a whole new day.
Yeah.
And you just get on with it, and you do your best you can from that position. So, like, getting rid of some of that emotional attachment to outcome is so important for if you want to do a handstand, or if you want to, if you want to be successful in anything, really, you've got to keep throwing the balls, and you've got to keep picking them up. If you want to, if you want to be known worldwide as a go-to guy for body composition, rehab, to be just the best person you can be, then there's no way that you're going to get to be globally known without putting yourself out there. And you made the decision to do this podcast. Maybe this podcast is the thing that's going to put you on the map globally. Maybe that's going to be how you get to the US to go and present together with Lane Norton, or you're going to have him out here because you've got a bigger audience and you can host him. And I know he's a guy that that you really love and you've done a lot of work with.
Yeah.
It's hard to say whether this is the one, but if you keep throwing the balls, there's no way that you're not going to get to where you want to go to. It's the only way. The only way we don't get there is when we stop.
Yeah.
So that's why I love the juggling. And there's 10 reasons to juggle on coachkegan.com, an article, blog post that has links to some of those studies and that sort of stuff. If you need to be convinced, or if you need to convince someone, a client or whatever, then that could be a tool to help get them in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to it, and we need to keep finding these ways to show people that they're capable of more. Juggling's a quick one.
Yeah, totally agree. And I can kind of focusing on the process rather than the outcome is extremely important, and not focusing on other people and how they're doing it as well is something I try and instill, especially with all the people who are doing competitions and stuff, because you always end up comparing like your worst features to their best features, and then you obviously never win. So it's always kind of that lose-lose situation. So that's a great analogy of it too. So that was good. In terms of like nutrition and stuff, what is your kind of opinion on what is good nutrition, and what do you talk about with the Real Movement Project on improving nutrition?
Yeah, for me, nutrition. I went through a period of chronic fatigue and really not being able to get much done in life because my system wasn't happy with the way that I treated it. So chronic infections, low energy, and poor concentration, lots of headaches. Not a good place to live from. So from there, I did a lot of research, and I realised that what I'd been told, and I'd studied a fair bit of nutrition, there's Australian government stuff coming out of Australian Institute of Sport. I did really well in PE at school. It was my best subject, physical education and health education. So I thought I was doing great, when I'm having baked beans on toast and 2-minute noodles and all these, carbohydrate sources and, Gatorades around sports that I was doing as a youngster and all that sort of stuff. It took me to a place where I couldn't really get much done that I wanted to get done in life. So research from there kind of pushed me down the line of Paul Chek. I'd heard a bit about Paul Chek before. So I read about metabolic typing, and that kind of puts you on something like a, whole foods, paleo-esque type path, and just did a lot of research down that path. And so I ate kind of paleo for quite a while, and I guess that's kind of my base for when I'm thinking about nutrition is, could our ancestors have done something similar to this? And if not, is this, then I need to be really careful about it. So it's not necessarily that I'm going to do everything like our ancestors did it, but if I'm going to include a supplement like creatine or something like that, then I need to be really sure that it's something that's going to add to what I'm doing. So I don't add stuff to the system that my ancestors wouldn't have had that I know is probably not going to be positive, like say a packet of Skittles or, a Mars bar or something. So if the ancestors couldn't have eaten it and I think it's probably negative, then I'll stay away. But if it maybe adds to what I'm doing, maybe some, cod liver oil extract, fish oils, some magnesium, those kinds of things that our ancestors didn't get, but maybe have an important role for us given some of the adjustments that we've made to the environment to live in the 21st century. So within that, there's people who do really well with lots of carbs. People do really well with low carbs. I think going ketogenic sometimes is a good thing. I'm doing ketogenic at the moment.
Yeah.
I did a four-day fast last week as a bit of a personal experiment to see if I could actually do it.
How'd you go?
And to experience it as much as anything, but also looking for what effect it would have on my health. There's such really interesting stuff around that. So for me, that framework of does this fit within the realm of what humans are meant to be doing, and then from there, individual preference, individual environment, budgets, all that sort of stuff is where it's shaped from. And then if that'll get you to somewhere between 8 and 12% for a guy. Maybe a little bit lower if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But I believe if you look back at what our ancestors looked like, if you combine that with some weight training, some and consistent movement, then that's going to get you somewhere in the 8 to 12, and it's going to keep you away from a lot of the behavioural diseases that are afflicting the majority of society. Now, if you want to get on stage, they need to see someone like you. That's not the game I play. I'm not really interested in that last, whatever it is, 4% or that sort of thing. There's specialists in that area, and you guys are great at what you do. For the majority of the population, sitting in that 8 to 12 is where we should be.
Yeah.
And we can do that with whole foods and resistance training and consistent daily movement.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest thing lacking in the general population diet is at the moment?
Nutrient density in general. Like, it's a low nutrient dense diet. If you eat like most people, you're lacking minerals, you're lacking amino acids, lacking vitamins. It's all going to be quite low because most of the food is filler that doesn't really have much nutritional density to it. And if it's fortified with vitamins and minerals, the uptake on those is low, and they're generally poor quality. Fortified bread and milk and stuff is not really the way forward.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot lacking, but then it's not just that it's lacking, it's that the other stuff is actually taking nutrients out of the body. So a high sugar intake is actually going to seep nutrients out of the body and cause the bones to demineralize, and an overly acid system is going to cause demineralization. So it's not even just that the good stuff's not there, it's that the bad stuff's actually taking out more, like, part of what's there as well. So we're a long way from optimal. If you look at in the zoo, zoos have been carefully designed to try and help animals to be able to survive and breed in those environments. Commercially, they need them to stay alive, and then if they're actually able to reproduce, then there's even further benefits to that.
Yeah.
We put a lot of effort to try and create a physical environment there and a diet that is somewhat like what their ancestors would have eaten, what they would have had in the wild, right? Like, you can see that when you wander around the zoo.
Yeah.
Now have a look around at where we live. Now, how much does it have to do with what we evolved in, what situation we evolved in?
Yeah.
And, just the idea of moving 3 times a week during a personal training session and the rest of the week being okay not to move, that's not okay. That's nowhere near what would work in that zoological environment.
Yeah.
Infertility treatment is the fastest growing area of medicine. Okay, so that's nature's stop sign. That's nature saying there is no more. Mother Nature rules with an iron fist. If they're that's saying there's a failure here, and it's not me judging someone and the decisions they're making. Mother Nature is saying this line will not continue.
Yeah.
Now, often that's the result of ignorance and just being like everybody else. And there may be people can put it down to luck, but I don't think it is down to luck. I think it's down to creating an environment that doesn't work for humans to be able to thrive and reproduce. Okay, so if we look at that, well, let's step back and let's think about getting some sunlight first thing in the morning. You know, study just released. My brother posted in the Real Move 3 group the other day about if you get some sunlight in the morning, you'll have better body composition gains. Getting sunlight later in the day doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah.
Well, would our ancestors have been able to avoid getting sunlight early in the day? If they, if it's sunny, you get sunlight, but that's not the game that we're playing. So we need to get that fresh air. We need to get that sunlight. We need to walk on the earth. You know, we need to eat some food that's grown somewhere near where we come from. I started sleeping on the floor. I sleep on a hard surface, and I actually feel like my skeletal system is thanking me for it.
Yeah.
And things like that. You know, wearing minimalist shoes, and lots of small changes that I believe bringing me a little bit closer to how I'm meant to be living, and puts me in a position to be able to help more people have more energy, to thrive and to go ahead. That's what I feel like my responsibility is. So
awesome.
That's the philosophical framework, and then there's a bunch of pieces of the puzzle. You got to work out what works for you. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay. But nature will ultimately tell you whether you're on the right path or not, and that's the way I take it when I get a symptom of something that's not quite right. Take it as a sign from nature that there should be a change in direction, and you can call it a sign from God if you like. It depends on what your inclination is. But when you see something's not right, when you're experiencing pain and discomfort, then it shouldn't be a signal for us to block the pain. It should be a signal for us to look at where the source of that is and go back and see if we can fix it.
Yeah.
Or find someone to help us.
Yeah, totally agree. Going back to that, can you explain the concept of I know you always talk about two things, genetic momentum and cockroaches versus canaries. Can you explain those two concepts?
Yeah, okay. So genetic momentum is really the concept that you're not just the product of your parents. It's not just you are. It's not you are what you eat. It's not you are what your mum ate. It's what your grandma ate. There is more and more evidence that the health of your ancestors is going to impact your own health. So you have to look 3-4 generations back to really think about what you've been given genetically, what stimulus was there, and that's going to determine basically your gene activation levels of your kind of default, your default sort of settings for your genes. So genes are like dimmer switches. The genes are set there and they're not going to change, but they're like dimmer switches, so they can be turned up and down. Some genes will respond quickly. So if you just laugh for half an hour, there'll be genes that are activated that weren't activated before you laughed. They're fast-responding genes. Some of those genes that respond to laughter will probably not change unless you laugh for half an hour every day for a month or for a year. So it becomes a little bit harder to track. But basically, that's what we're getting. So when we're getting a genetic predisposition for a certain disease, it means it's there, but we get to determine whether the dimmer switch is turned on or off based on the environment, based on epigenetics. Yeah. So epigenetics is above the genes. And that's if you want to learn about that stuff, Bruce Lipton is a great source. He's a guy that I really love listening to. I went and saw him in Sydney and I've read a lot of his books. Epigenetics that's where it's at. You can do your 23andMe, you can learn about your own genetics, but then also understand that you're not there to be a victim of those genetics. You have to make the decision from there. So it's the easiest way to think about genetic momentum is just thinking about animal husbandry. So if you're a dog breeder or a horse breeder, then if a couple of generations of dogs haven't really been that well looked after or that well bred, then the chances that the new offspring are going to be really healthy and that it's going to be a pain-free birth for the mother and all that sort of stuff become less and less. So anyone who's had anything to do with animal breeding will know that if an animal's been poorly bred, then it's likely they're going to have complicated births and they may die in birth. The offspring will be smaller and weaker, all those sorts of things. It matters about what order you are in the children as well. So if children that are born close together, there'll be, if the mother doesn't get a chance to replenish, then offspring will be progressively weaker in any species, including humans. So it's traditionally in a lot of cultures there was a 3-year gap between children being born to allow the mother to replenish to be able to have another healthy child. And it was seen as the parents' responsibility to make sure they would have a healthy child, because if they followed the cultural norms, then that's what would happen. Now, we don't have those same norms, and I was born quite soon after my brother, and some of the stuff that you would generally see with that, you can see with me. Doesn't mean I can't live a great life and have a huge impact, but that's how it works. So Pot and Just Cats is a great book. If you're interested in this concept, Pot and Just Cats basically shows you experiments with cats, whether they, what food they were given, and within a few generations of being given a low nutrient dense diet, all the cats were sterile, had behavioural dysfunction, and if they stopped that one generation before becoming sterile and gave them a nutrient dense diet, then it still took a few generations to get them back to optimal health. So it wasn't something that could be completely reversed immediately or in one lifetime. But that makes it really, really clear for us that environment is super important. Our environment is made up of psychology as well as physiology. And the more of a master of psychology you are, probably the less that stuff is going to matter, and the more you can take it to do it differently. We are different from animals. We have a higher level of consciousness and higher level of possibility for shaping ourselves. But on a basic level, if you look at that, that from that animal breeding point of view, that's it's a good framework.
Yeah.
Canaries and cockroaches. A lot of rugby league players are cockroaches. You can do whatever you like to them, and they're going to survive.
Yeah.
There are other people who are going to get sick at the slightest possible chance. I had a lot of different things growing up, and probably was more on the canary side of things. Now I feel as though I've made a transition to being much more of a cockroach. I haven't needed to go to a doctor, for a long time. I haven't, had, I'm more resilient. I can train as much as most people, or more than, as much as anyone just about, and not get sick or, survive through it. And so I believe that you can make a transition along that continuum. But as a coach, it's great to be aware, a trainer, it's great to be aware that initially someone comes to you, they may well be a canary. You might need to be very gentle with them. The canary is obviously the canary in the mine. The canary would die before the miner if there was toxic gas being produced. Yeah. So they would get out of the mine because the canary was the sign that there's something bad going on here. So even if the miner hadn't recognised poisonous gas in the environment, the canary was super sensitive. It would go bang and get out. So for some people, electromagnetic radiation, if they're in Wi-Fi, they get headaches. Yeah, because they're super sensitive to it. Other people, Wi-Fi, zero effect. I used to always get headaches flying on planes. It's just the low oxygen, the electromagnetic radiation, whatever it is. Every time we flew to England, I lived in France, we flew to England twice a week. We were on budget, crappy airlines, and I would always get headaches. And I started taking antioxidants and trying to do things to avoid that. But then it stopped, and now I don't get headaches. And basically, for me, it shows that there's been a shift in my physiology. I don't get the inflammatory markers going as quickly, or whatever it is. I'm sure there's lab testing that can prove it, but I can just see it. It's if you are a canary, don't feel sorry for yourself. Make a transition towards being a cockroach through great behaviours. If you're a cockroach, don't destroy yourself with booze and whatever to the point where you become a canary, or the first sign of trouble you get is that you're diagnosed with cancer or heart disease, or get a stroke or whatever it is. Treasure that. If you feel like you are really robust and you've been given a great deal of genetic momentum from generations of people who've really looked after themselves and been super fit and healthy. That was what our ancestors did, right? They tried to be as healthy as they could. They tried to pass on as much strength as they could. Try to feed their kids as well as they could. Make sure the grandkids are fed really well. Like if you've got the Italian grandmother thing, it's like that's how it worked. You try and give the best food to the grandkids because the grandkids are the ones who are going to become the grandparents, and that's how the tribe survives, and that's how you get to battle on. And if someone comes and invades, you guys are ready to go. You're not all run down with the flu. Yeah. You're ready to fight for your land or whatever it is. So we had to be like this. Now we've got all these other priorities and other possibilities, and it's an amazing time. We live in the most amazing time that humanity's been working towards for centuries, millennia. To be able to have this freedom to talk to someone anywhere in the world, to go anywhere, to learn anything. It's an amazing time, but we have to keep some track of the fact that we're humans living in human bodies, and human bodies have needs that are similar to the needs that human bodies had 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. That was really awesome. Um, in terms of kind of where you see the fitness industry at the moment, how do you kind of see the fitness industry? What's wrong with it, and what's going to be the solution to be able to help fix that?
I mean, it's amazing to see how big it is and how much it's growing. It means people want help.
Yeah,
You know, that's you come into a PT. Someone's going to a PT because they're not happy with who they are. They're not happy with the physical, but that's always attached to the psychological. So there's an opportunity there. They're saying, okay, I want to be a better person. You know, that's what they're coming with. So that opportunity is growing. It's getting bigger. You know, there's more fitness facilities and more styles of training, and that's amazing. It's great. And increasingly, personal trainers are being held in higher esteem. There's lots of personal trainers who make more money than doctors and lawyers and all those people now. We can set up businesses. We can have financial freedom. We can make a huge impact. And we are starting to get some of that respect in society. But we do need to do it better, and that's the challenge. It's easy enough to get your cert 3 and 4 and go and work in a gym and get some PT done. But unfortunately, those qualifications, as much as you can try and deliver in a couple of days, or even 6 months or whatever, they're not really getting people to where they need to be to deal with the society that they're in front of. So we need to continue to educate. There are an elite group of personal trainers who are hungry for education, and they're implementing that education, and they're forming powerful communities. They're building facilities, and they're having a huge impact on the world. And, that's super exciting. That's the top 5%, the top 1%. And the question is how do we shift the standards of the whole industry? How do we move more of those people from just getting started to really having a good handle on how to change someone's life and affect them on a deeper level? And I guess that's the future of the fitness industry. And, I think is really a shift to performance, to high performance food, to performance approach to life. And when we get that mindset, then it's unstoppable. When people come to the gym hungry for their next physical step and their improvement, then that does translate into great decisions outside of the gym. And people are buying differently, then that changes the economy, because the foods that people are buying shift. Organic food and whole foods are much more abundant in Australia than they are in many parts of the world. That's a result of a market. That's a result of the decision that people are making. So if we can encourage people to buy one more thing organic, they don't have to buy everything organic, but if they buy just their coffee organic, or they buy, one organic vegetable each time they go to the store, then that stuff's going to become more accessible. That stuff's going to become, more available, and that's how we can change the world. I think that is the responsibility of personal trainers, is to really step up and say, yeah, like this is our world to change. We're the ones. Like, don't wait for the doctors, don't wait for the lawyers, don't wait for the programmers, IT or whatever. We've got the opportunity in front of us. There's so many people who are looking for a better way to live. Let's learn what we need to learn and be a living, breathing example of that, I guess, is the biggest challenge. We have to be inspired and excited about what we're doing, and to do that, we probably have to be making decent money that within the way society is structured right now. That's a big determinant of self-value and self-respect. Is if there's money in the bank account, then we think, well, yeah, we're doing something. If people are paying good dollars for what we're doing, then we think, yeah, this is me. I'm doing something here. So that's what I love seeing. I love seeing people being confident about what they have to offer. I love seeing them get results. And yeah, it's I guess the next phase is not just being about body composition, not just being about tiring people out, but really transforming them. And I know that doesn't mean you can't be a body composition coach. It doesn't mean you don't train endurance, but there's a deeper transformation here that we have to, that we should be focused on. And when we can get that, then we're going to have clients for life. Then we're going to have a growing business. Then we're going to have training facility and a global system of training. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys who listen to this who do want to be someone who can travel the globe and have an impact all over the place, and maybe be the one to set up a system that goes viral in South America or Asia, or some system that gets taken on by schools in Africa. Because everywhere's starting to see these behavioural diseases. It's not just about money now. It used to be called diseases of the affluent. We were the ones who got diabetes and whatnot because we had so much money for overproduction of overconsumption of food. But now everywhere's seeing this, so the demand is everywhere, and so we have a huge opportunity, but it's a huge responsibility, because if it's not personal trainers who are going to shift culture towards self-development, physical development, understanding nutrition, then who is it? Like, there's there are some great things going on in nutrition at the moment, but nutrition without movement is nothing, because you can put great food in the gut, but if it's not being circulated, then there's no nutrition to the cells. So we have to have movement as part of that culture and part of that system. And, these systems have existed for decades for millennia in the East. Like martial arts systems and yoga and those sorts of things. Built around a system of eating and a system of movement and a system of thinking. And that's the level that we need to be thinking on. Like, what is this new system, and how can we take it to the people who need it most? The answer is not, we don't have a deficiency of antidepressant drugs. We have a deficiency of movement and of quality nutrition. A lot of this stuff can and will be changed by getting in touch with nature's laws and being examples of a solution. We have to be excited about it. If we're just ticking a box and tiring some people out, stripping a little bit of fat off people, but we don't see the high significance, then they're not going to see the high significance either. We lose half the benefit of what we're actually delivering. So this is the challenge. This is what we're trying to change. I love supporting. You're obviously a guy with a lot of ambition, and there's a number of other coaches around the world now who are part of this same network that you are. And I don't know who's going to be the one. I don't know who's the Jesus amongst us. Who's the one who's really going to shake it all up and change it all. But I know within the group, there's huge waves going to be formed, and we've already got 30 guys in new facilities. Some of the people that come in the program want to have their own training facility. 30 guys are in new facilities that they weren't in before they came into the program. It's only been 18 months. You've got this promotion recently. I don't know if you've shared that with your audience, but you've got this. You've gone to the next level again, and what level we continue to have guys doing that, and we're doing it, that pushes me ahead, and that pushes the whole community ahead, and that's how we're starting to build some momentum to try and go beyond just a superficial change in people. We want a deeper change, and we're getting it. So we just got to keep pushing and keep exciting people about this process, I think.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think it's really important in the fitness industry as well to kind of sell people what they want and then give them what they need, because a lot of PTs will just basically give them what they want rather than kind of pushing them beyond that. So everyone comes to a PT because they have some kind of aesthetic goal to start off with, most people anyway, because they want to drop 10 kilos, they want to feel better or something like that, the aesthetic goal. But what they really want underneath that is what's more important, and actually highlighting the process that they need to go through to be able to achieve that, and how important it's going to be to be able to do that as well.
They want to feel better.
Yeah.
They want the feeling that comes at the end of the 10 kilos. Yeah. They want to look in the mirror and say, this person knows how to look after themselves. This person can do 10 chin-ups, whatever it is. They want that feeling, and the way they're going to get that feeling is by doing the work. But once they come in, and once they've spent a few sessions with you, then they can realize that actually this is something that needs to go on for the rest of my life. Like, I need to be continually physically challenged and developed. And I guess that's my criticism of pure body composition or weight focused training, is that you can nail that stuff. 12 weeks you can strip a ton of fat and you look great, but you're only a month of sloppy eating away from not looking good again. Whereas once someone gets a handstand, or they've got a goal of a double body weight back squat or whatnot, it takes a lot longer to undo that sort of stuff. It's things that stay with people. Teaching someone to juggle, it can't really be taken back. Usually once you've got it, and you've got it, it takes a couple of seconds to click back in. So I want to be, that's what I love about this, is giving people skills and empowerment for life. we had Hattie Boydell, physique model. She's got a huge audience on social media. She came to the gymnastics camp that we just did.
Yeah.
She did some gymnastics as a kid, and she hadn't done any for like 10, 15 years apart from the odd handstand. She was throwing back somersaults and arabesques and things that I didn't know the names of within a few minutes because she'd been taught the skills, and those skills had stayed with her, and she was just she was buzzing, full of light and full of life, and everybody in the room was affected by the energy that she had with that, and also thinking, well, what's possible? Like this is so much more possible. And of course, Dan, who was teaching it, was doing double somersaults on the trampoline and that sort of stuff. And just he's 40, but he is absolutely phenomenal and does things that majority of 20-year-olds would never dream of. And I think that's the exciting thing. Once giving people skills and building on those skills and making that a lifetime process of progressing skills and personal development. That's, I think, where we can build on the aesthetic goals. And of course, within that, if we can get the nutrition right and if we can get the training, enough volume and stimulus right, then we can look good in the process. I think that's where the mix should be. And then if people want to go on stage, then really refine it down to exactly what needs to be done, calories, macros, get the training perfectly spot on for that period of time, and then go back to skill development, to performance development, to being the best you can be, which I guess is a little bit where you're at right now, right? You've gone through a series of competitions there, and now you're doing some sprinting, you're lifting some really big weights, maybe you're going to push ahead with some mobility goals, or, you might start playing guitar or learning a language or something else that's there in the system.
Yeah.
But you have that time of just laser focus on body composition. But now you're going back to stuff that's going to build for life and make it easier actually next time you go and strip down for that stage as well, right?
Yep, definitely agree. It's definitely what I'm working towards at the moment.
Is there a mobility goal that you're working towards at all?
Just trying to get my shoulder mobility back. So after obviously training massively hard and calorie deficit, shoulders kind of took a bit of a beating. And kind of my legs as well. So it's more just getting technique to a point where it's a lot better to be able to build up strength from there and then working on mobility from there as well. So mobility is a lot better than it was before I started competing and even through comp prep, because I'm constantly working on it even more now. It's just not the biggest drive. It's just kind of getting my injuries to a point through kind of corrective exercise to kind of push from there.
Yep.
In terms of the name of the podcast is Chasing Gains, which is the pursuit of a result or outcome. What kind of outcomes are you working towards? Firstly, with your own training, and then with your business as well.
Two biggest ones for this year is I want to have a triple body weight deadlift.
Yep.
165 front squat. So both about 30 kilos away.
Yep.
So that's pretty much where the focus is. After the fast, they're probably 45 kilos away. But we'll get back there. There's a lot of other stuff. I'm getting close to splits. I want to have a one-arm handstand. There's bits and pieces that I'm working on, but I feel as though those base numbers, I'd like to take them to a level that I haven't been at, and that will feed into, taking snatch and clean and jerk to another level. I think I just need a bigger engine to produce that force. So exactly what I talked about at the rugby league, be able to produce more force and then be able to produce a fraction of that, really quickly, or a big percentage of it for the weightlifting. In terms of the business, there's so much going on. It's so exciting. We had 3 new people join the program in the last 24 hours, and these are people who are hungry to go into facilities. 2 of them have facilities, and one of them wants to go into a facility within the next 6 months. She's got access to a school, and it's easy to see how that transition is going to be into her own business, and that's just so exciting because she's going to change lives. And continuing to do that, to build a process around that. There's some pipe dreams and some things that I might throw out there that we're definitely working towards, which is having a training camp base in Fiji and one in Vanuatu as well. 2 things that we want to happen in 2016. So guys who are in the community can take training camps over to those sorts of places. I know it's something that I would love to, I would love for you to be able to go with a crew of guys that you're working with online coaching, go, hey, like let's do this together for a little while, spend a week over there and hit up some training in sun and coconuts, and like that's definitely on the cards. And yeah, also looking at how we can build a bigger education system that's going to go even deeper. I think university education is not delivering what it could, and so there needs to be bigger, deeper education opportunity. And I know what we're doing at the moment is having a big impact, but I'm looking at teaming up with some university lecturers and teachers to really take the teaching and learning side of things, to the next level. And there's a lot of skills involved in this business that aren't things that I've necessarily studied, but they need to be a lot better to be able to get to where we can get to and maximize the potential of this thing. So that's a few of the things. There's so much on. There's events coming up, Real Movement Level 1s. It's great getting in front of people and, giving them some challenges and showing them some pathways to how to go from where they are right now to where they want to be. And that's always an exciting thing. I had the chance to speak to you at one of those ones, and there's more internships coming up. There's another one in 10 days. Going to actually attend a couple of workshops as a student this weekend, next weekend, presenting in Melbourne after that. So yeah, it's all going ahead, all exciting, and I'm just really, really grateful to be able to work with great people like yourself, have the opportunity to speak to you, and I know your audience is really intelligent guys and girls who want to make an impact. So that's what I live for, to try and do that better and just make share the things that have made the biggest impact for me, and clear a path for make it a little bit easier for other guys to get into a facility or get their online coaching going, or just really have that confidence to make the impact you can have.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks very much. In terms of what is the best way for people who are listening to this to be able to get in contact with you if they're looking at either just following you on social media or coming to say a Real Movement Level 1 or pursuing more the mentorship kind of program as well?
Yeah, so realmovementproject.com, Real Movement Project is sort of where you can get in touch. And then I also have Keegan Smith and Coach Kegan, which kind of came before Real Movement Project. So those audiences are still there, so I still use those channels as well. There's some information about how the 12-month program works through the education tab on realmovementproject.com. It's probably like if there's people who are really serious and go like, yeah, I want to open a gym, or I want to really take to the next level. That's probably the place to sort of put your application in and start that ball rolling. Otherwise, there's events in the shop for people who want to dip their toe in the water with the RM Level 1. There's always going to be a lot of free content through the blog there. I post the stuff that's making an impact on me. There's one going in there about the fast and a float tank experience recently, and the pathway to that triple bodyweight deadlift, all that sort of stuff. So that's all there. And I'm always there. Instagram, Facebook. The opportunity is there right now for us to market for free, right? So if we're intelligent with it, then we can be a voice. There's a lot of voices out there that are trying to encourage people to consume food products and whatever that are going to deteriorate people's health, or things that are going to make people feel less big about themselves. There's also the opportunity for positive media. So at the moment we have the chance to really positively influence and do positive media on a bigger scale than has ever been possible. So take advantage of that. If you don't have your channel set up, and if you think you're too small, to start, don't be like that. Just start and just put your stuff out there and be vulnerable and be honest. And that's how it starts. That's how my journey started with this stuff. I did free content on Twitter, based out of France. That built into enough audience that I went and did a Facebook page, and then I did a website, and then I did another website, and then I think I'm on about my 6th website now. But you got to keep throwing the balls, and if you guys do that, then you'll go a long way. You can do it on your own. You can try and get sped up by working with someone like you or someone like me. But make sure you go after what you really want to do. That's, I guess, my final word for anyone who's put the time into this. Thank you for listening, and I hope that action the things that you need to action right now, and do it without fear.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for spending your time today to be able to help us. It's really inspiring to be able to work with people like you who are actually making that difference in the health and fitness industry and improving people's lives. So thanks again for your time. And it's always, every conversation I have, I always walk away with something that I've learned to be able to apply in my own life and then to my clients' lives as well. So thanks again for that.
Thank you, mate. You're making a difference. Give me this opportunity, and you've definitely inspired a lot of guys. You inspire me by how lean and how committed you are, and how heavy you're lifting compared to your body weight and all that stuff. So keep shining bright, keep making a difference. And it's early days. There's a lot to come.
Yep, awesome. All right, thanks again.
Thanks, Cody.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was an amazing episode yet again with Keegan. Got some amazing guests coming up in the coming weeks as well, so I'm really looking forward to interviewing those guys and getting the content out to you. So be sure to share and like this podcast to help spread the Chasing Gains movement. Thanks again for listening, guys.